Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for a story of a distinguished Kansan, Peggy Hull, the first woman war correspondent accredited by the U.S. government. Then learn about the settlement of Irish immigrants in Kansas communities like Chapman, Solomon, Vesper and St. Benedict, to name but just a few. Next, enjoy a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a look at the color green. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, just a short drive down the yellow brick road. Good morning, I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And this is Around Kansas. Early in the morning, thank you for getting up to watch this silliness. Well, it's not all silliness.
Frank's part's silly. My part, on the other hand, is serious journalism.
Yes.
And we're going to highlight a serious journalist later on, Peggy Hull. So just to prove that point.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about, of course, it's not St. Patrick's Day yet. It's the Ides of March. I don't know how you celebrate the Ides of March.
Well,
go kill somebody.
Caesar certainly didn't.
Yeah, he didn't celebrate very long, did he? But I don't know how to appropriately
The Ides of March. What could it be?
commemorate the Ides of March.
Hey, maybe that's when we could do the March Basket Day. Remember,
Put a head in a
a
basket.
few weeks back, yeah, we talked about that. Anyway,
But yeah, that's oh God, that you know,
beware the Ides of March.
there used to be the Menninger Foundation used to be here. They're not here any longer. Sorry to say, Frank. Or we might be recommending you. We might be calling for a room over there.
Yeah.
I kept thinking we could get a group rate or something. You
Yeah.
know, just get a whole ward for me and my friends and family. You know, just get a whole ward at Menninger. And
So, yeah. Oh, my. But the thing is, I mean, it's called the Ides of March, and I know that refers to the middle of the month, the 15th of the month. But, you know, I'm one of those people that I like to research words and phrases and all of that. And unfortunately, it's one that I haven't, so I have no idea what I'm talking about.
you are such a letdown, Frank.
I know.
You are
So
such
I
a
don't
letdown.
have any news about why it's called the Ides. I'm
I
sure
think
there
it's just like the golly, trying to recall my high school Latin class now. I don't know if it's the word for middle or if it's just the word for 15.
15.
I don't think it's the word for 15.
No, it wouldn't be 15.
No, it wouldn't be 15.
Because that would
But-
be what, XV.
Yeah, but the
XV.
word is like, you know, my
No, it
favorite.
wouldn't be X. Yes, it would.
Yeah,
No.
you know my
XV.
favorite. But the word for that is not just XV. The Latin, the Romans didn't go around saying it's XV.
You don't think?
No, they
Okay.
didn't. My favorite Latin word
Uh-huh.
is the word for 18,
What's that?
duo de vigente,
Okay.
and it means 2 from 20, literally. So
Really?
see, that's what they wouldn't say. Yeah, XV.
Beware the XV of March. Of course, they probably didn't say March either. Oh boy, this is just going over. I think we have some stories and we probably ought to get to them very, very soon.
You know the song you keep talking about the songs that keep running through your head?
Uh-huh.
You know the song running through my head right now?
What?
They're coming to take me away.
They're coming to take me away. Ho, ho.
I knew you'd know it.
Yeah. Well, we play it on Ren every now and then. So.
Stay with us, folks, if you dare.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
It's time, the Great Bend Farm and Ranch Expo, April 5th, 6th, and 7th in Great Bend, Kansas. 700 booths filled over 80 acres of exhibits. Dale Brisby, the 6th and 7th at 1 o'clock, sponsored by American State Bank. Find all your livestock equipment needs, precision tillage equipment at the Great Bend Farm and Ranch Expo. Free admission, free parking. Corporate sponsors American Hat Company, Great Bend Co-op. Go to starexpos.net. That's April 5, 6, 7. You don't want to miss it.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Okay, we've settled down some here at the Ides of March.
I've got a great story.
Okay.
This, as I think I might have mentioned on the show before, when I was 4 years old, I watched Lois Lane on Superman, decided I wanted to be a reporter. Actually, I just wanted to follow Superman around, but I became a journalist, and I was working for the local paper by the time I was 15 years old. And journalism is one of the ways that women could, it was a profession women could break into. And Kansas has such a tradition of journalists, and we've got Clarena Nichols, who covered the Wyandotte Constitutional Convention and wrote back home. We've had a lot of, since the beginning of the state, there's been a lot of women who wrote and did important things and covered important events. And this one is Peggy Hull. Had you ever heard of her?
No, I've heard of Peggy of the Flint Hills, but...
And that's the one that I had heard of too. And so Peggy Hull was one that was new to me, but she was actually a war correspondent. And I never did, I used to work a lot with Fort Leavenworth, and so I do media training at Fort Leavenworth. And I used to cover, back in Mayberry, courts and the cops and everything, which is very similar to covering the military. And I loved it, really loved it. And I loved working with the military. I never went overseas as an embedded reporter. I had the opportunity a couple of times, but I just didn't feel like it was the right time to leave. I had, Noelle was still at home, and, so that just didn't feel like it was the right timing. But I really admire the people who do, because that's scary, and it's a whole different reality.
Mm-hmm. One of the outstanding broadcast journalists in Kansas, and she happened to work for Wren many years ago, Catherine Brandenburg. And I mean, Catherine was kind of like, the first one that would get the question. And, and if she were in the White House press corps now, she would be the first one that they would talk to. And I mean, she was a tough news gatherer, and you could depend on it. If she said it, it wasn't fake news. She just went out and got the news.
I long for those golden days of journalism. Yeah. Well, you're going to be amazed by the story of Peggy Hall, and I'm thrilled to bring it to you today.
Kansas has a distinguished history in journalism. Many of our towns had newspapers before they had buildings. Some of the nation's most respected journalists in all media have hailed from Kansas, from William Allen White in newspaper to Bill Curtis in radio and television, and Jim Lehrer of the McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour on PBS. Among those distinguished ranks is Peggy Hull, the first woman war correspondent accredited by the United States government and the first woman to serve on 4 battlefronts. She was born Henrietta Eleanor Goodnow on a farm near Bennington in 1890. Henrietta later changed her name to Peggy Hull. Peggy grew up in Marysville and later moved to Junction City and was a fan of the exploits of investigative reporter Nellie Bly. She started her career setting type at the Junction City Sentinel and got her break covering a fire when no one else was available. She worked for newspapers in Colorado, California, Hawaii, and Minnesota. While reporting for the Cleveland Plain Dealer in 1916, Hall was assigned to cover the Ohio National Guard in Mexico. The soldiers were dispatched to patrol the Mexican border while Brigadier General John J. Pershing pursued Pancho Villa after his notorious raid in New Mexico. Here, Hull started writing for the El Paso Morning Times, and her reporting of Pershing's return with his men is considered one of the most accurate accounts of the event. In 1917, Hull convinced the Morning Times editor to send her to France to cover World War I. At that time, the War Department did not allow women journalists to become accredited. Hull sailed for Paris without accreditation, but thanks to her acquaintance with General Pershing, she was able to spend a month and a half at an artillery training camp. Envious male reporters saw to it that Hull was recalled to Paris, and embittered, she returned to the U.S. In the summer of 1918, she finally received accreditation. In the following years, she would cover military action from Siberia, Shanghai, and several Pacific islands. Although pleased to have earned accreditation, Hull often complained that she was sent to places far from the front because she was a woman. She may not have been happy with the location of her assignments, but readers valued her perspective and the humanized view she brought to her little stories of war. A soldier writing in 1944 said, "You will never realize what those yarns of yours did to this gang. You made them know they were not forgotten." After World War II, Peggy Hull moved to California, where she lived until her death in 1967.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
I'm Rexanne Struve, veterinarian in Western Iowa. I have a veterinary clinic and started doing stem cell therapy on dogs in August of 2014. And after the first 2 dogs, after 3 weeks, I saw such dramatic results. I said, hey, I have arthritis. I have joints that really need this help. Where can I go to get this done? I had stem cell therapy done in November of 2014 on my finger joints, my hip, and the ball of my left foot, all of which I'd had real severe problems with. Saw a pretty dramatic improvement in a short amount of time. I would certainly recommend that somebody don't wait until I'm in the position that I was in with the damage already done to my joints. I encourage veterinarians to use it for their animals, and I encourage anybody who sees this video, if you have need, get in contact with these people, because this is a phenomenal place to have this done.
Fort Wallace stood on the frontier in the midst of the Plains Indians Wars on a major stage route and rail line. Beside the 1865 stagecoach station, a modern museum with thousands of artifacts tell that story, like the fossil of a 40-foot plesiosaur is suspended from the ceiling. Located on Highway 40 midway between Hayes and Colorado Springs, the Fort Wallace Museum is as welcome a sight today as the fort itself in the 1860s. Discover the fightingest fort in the West. This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Back again.
Well, we're almost at St. Patrick's Day. That's our excuse for not wearing green. And St. Patrick's Day, way more fun than the Ides of March, is the 17th of March.
Yes.
So would we even have a good time at all if it weren't for the Irish?
For the Irish, yes.
Bless you, bless you, bless their hearts for coming.
Well, I'm Irish.
I thought you said Chapin was.
Well, the Chapins, okay, there are 2 pronunciations, Chapman, and there's Chapin. And the Chapin is from Ireland, and the Chapman is from England. And the thing is, I mean, the families had to.
So the Chapins. So what did the Chapins do?
The Chapins, yeah. And anyway, because there were brothers that came over during the potato famine, and of course immigrated to Ohio and then spread out all over the country. And because I think I have family down in Oklahoma and
Run out may be more accurate. That's a.
But anyway, yes. So yeah, the Irish. There were a couple of immigrations, and one, of course, was due to the potato famine.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And anyway, they're just all over the country. But there was a movie, and I'm trying to think of the name of it now. It was about the Five Corners in New York. Mm-hmm. And that had a lot to do with, at that time, the Irish really were not welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like go home and the whole thing. And anyway.
Yeah. It's a very interesting history.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the Irish in Kansas.
Yes, let's do.
According to the Kansas State Historical Society, in 1870, the majority of immigrants to Kansas came from the British Isles and particularly Ireland. In 1871, Thomas Butler, an Irish priest in Leavenworth, wrote a pamphlet encouraging Irish people to move to Kansas. Extreme poverty and a lack of opportunity have often motivated the Irish to seek other shores, most famously during the Great Potato Famine. The impact of the famine on Kansas Irish population is documented by Father Butler in his discussion of the history of Catholicism in Kansas. When Catholic churches in the state increased from 3 in 1854 to 45 in 1871. The Wichita Eagle's Becky Tanner found many communities with Irish names: Chapman and Solomon in Dickinson County, Vesper in Lincoln County, and St. Benedict in Nemaha County. Patrick Doyle, an Irish immigrant who settled in Marion County south of Florence, was the inspiration for Doyle Creek, Doyle Township, and the Doyle Post Office. Meade County has Irish Flats, and in Marshall County there is Irish Creek. Becky added that shortly after the Civil War, Irish labor helped build the Kansas Pacific Railroad and mined coal in southeast Kansas. Many of the Irish who came to Kansas during the mid to late 19th century did so because of a migration fueled by Ireland's potato famine and social and political turmoil. Perhaps the most recognizable influence of the Irish is in the University of Kansas mascot, the Jayhawk, the mythical bird of Irish origins that antagonized its prey and was adopted to describe Kansans during the Border Wars, the original border wars of the 1850s and 1860s. And now, dear viewers, a toast to our Irish roots. Tarwater Farm and Home has been family-owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
It's time, the Great Bend Farm and Ranch Expo, April 5th through the 7th in Great Bend, Kansas. This is your regional expo held in the heart of Kansas. JD Wing Horse Clinician all 3 days, sponsored by T-Cross Ranch and Bobby Norris Realty. Bradford Cattle Dogs, Border Collie demos all 3 days. Live cattle, beer garden, 80 acres and 3 buildings of exhibits. Corporate sponsors American Hat Company, the Great Bend Co-op. Go to starexpos.net for more information. April 5, 6, 7.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Find out more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
The mid to late 1800s meant a huge change in the culture of what would become Kansas. Homesteaders came into the state of Kansas following the Homestead Act, and with them they brought fencing. And this poem is based on the true story of the invention of barbed wire fence. The poem is entitled The Death of Open Range. Let me tell you of a time when open range was in its prime. Cowboys rode their horses forth and drove the herds of cattle north. We could ride all over this great land, unfettered by the human hand. Then a farmer over Illinois way invented something that's used today. His name was Mr. Joseph Glidden. He was doing the homesteader's bidding. He took a pair of heavy pliers and wrapped barbs around a long piece of wire. The barb's sharp points kept stock in or out. It could be used for fencing all about. For the open range, it was a turn of events, because barbed wire made it easy to string a fence. Barbed wire succeeded more than Glidden had planned. Soon fences crisscrossed the open land. The Old West changed with Glidden's invention, and it caused the cowboys apprehension. No more could we ride over free open range, and the cowboy's role would be forever changed. Homesteaders and nesters scarred this land and changed the role of the old cowhand. The cowboy's work continues on, but the days of open range are gone. The open range would have no more hope. That's why cowboys called barbed wire the devil's rope. Happy trails.
Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego is driven by the spirit of American ingenuity. Come in for a new Chevrolet car, truck, or SUV. If we don't have exactly what you want, we'll find it for you. And we also have a great selection of used cars. We make sure you have an easy, fun, and transparent sales experience that saves you time and money. But if you want high-pressure salesmen and hours spent in the finance office, you'll just have to go elsewhere. Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're making car buying great again.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
I've got this story on green, and I feel guiltier than ever now for not wearing green today. I don't know what I was thinking. So green is the color of everything except us today. That's just...
Oh, well.
But I just started thinking, my dad was a preacher. Yeah, really. And one of my favorite verses from the Bible and one of my favorite visuals is when they talk about the hills and living green. And I can remember sitting in the church back home in the Blue Ridge Mountains and Daddy saying that and looking out at those beautiful hills and that living green. And I thought, what a beautiful description that is, because that's not like, green on the tablecloth or on your shirt or whatever, that living green, where it's just putting oxygen into the air, and it's just that vibrancy. And that was Mama's favorite color. She painted our house, had our house painted one time mint green, so it's just so it just started me thinking about all the things that are green.
I just saw a thing on Weather Channel here recently that when the sun is setting and just before it drops below the horizon, there's a flash of green.
Really?
But you have to really watch closely, and the sky is green. Yeah.
I'll look for that now. So that's another thing. And, the whole tornado, I forgot about the green clouds and all that. There's so many, right in with your green things. Take a look.
It ain't easy being green. Green is the color of March, of Ireland, of St. Patrick's Day, of clover and leprechaun suits. It is the color of Christmas, of holly and ivy and evergreens. It is the color of Kermit the Frog, the Swamp Thing, and the Incredible Hulk. It is the color of common things, like grass and leaves. It is the color of rare things, like emeralds and jade. It is the color of tropical fruit, like limes. It is the color of temperate climate fruits, like Granny Smith apples. It is the color of caterpillars, lizards, and moths. It is the color of the birds and snakes that eat them. It is the color of malachite and moss, grapes and olives, jungles and forests, vines and stems. Green is the color of money, of envy, of greed. But it is also the color of life, the color created through the process of photosynthesis by which the world is fed. Perhaps no other color screams so loudly of spring, of new life springing from the earth. When Kansas fields turn green after the stubble is burned away, the color is almost blinding. Dry creek and riverbeds turn green, hinting at the water buried beneath the dry ground. From the time of the Egyptians, green has been the color of rebirth and regeneration. Green is the color of hope and promise. Here's wishing you a verdant spring.
We got to go. I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Welcome to Kansas, gateway to
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy's dream. We're the best part of Dorothy's dream.
To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamandkansas.com.